Welcome to JCRC Bay Area's 75th anniversary celebration. My name is Jan Riker, and I am honored to serve as president of the board of directors. Joining me is my husband, Alain Bismuth. We are proud to be co-chairs for today's event, especially alongside Rabbi Doug and Ellen Kahn, and honorary chair, Sissy Swig. As you saw on the screen, yes. As you saw on the screen, we are lucky as we celebrate 75 years of JCRC to have had such strong leadership across many decades of community relations work. JCRC has had just 5 executive directors in its history, and we're incredibly lucky to have 4 of them with us here tonight. And we will be seeing more of their conversation filmed last summer after dinner. It's wonderful to be with you all for this special gathering. Some of you have been a part of JCRC's critical role for decades. Others discovered our work in recent months as the October 7th crisis in Israel made its way in unfortunate ways to the Bay Area. And some of you will be learning about us just tonight. Welcome. However and wherever you discovered JCRC, we are so grateful to have you here tonight. Together, we are ensuring a thriving future for Jews and our neighbors across the Bay Area. When we envisioned this milestone event last summer, we were planning on a true celebration. We could not have imagined how fundamentally the past few months have impacted both the Jewish community's sense of security and belonging, nor the transformation of JCRC into the highly visible public voice and central response agency that tens of thousands of Jewish families have turned to for help. Over the past few months, our professional and lay leadership have relentlessly addressed the alarming rise of anti-Semitism facing our schools, our universities, local businesses, city halls, and the public square. And it is because of our long-standing work, relationship building, coalition building, and educating that JCRC has risen to the occasion.
It is for all these reasons that this event has taken on a new significance and new sense of urgency. The need for community education, the need for community unity, and of course, the need for a significantly larger JCRC with increased capacity. That's where you'll come in, but more on that later. Before we begin our program, we'd like to extend a special thanks to those who have joined us as Diamond sponsored: the Jewish Community Federation Endowment Fund, the Koret Foundation, the John Prisker Family Fund, Martin and Lisa Romo. We would also like to thank those who have joined us as Ruby sponsors: the Friend Family, the Libitsky Family Foundation, Ingrid Tauber and Frank Taforo. And a big thank you to all of our generous sponsors and community partners listed in tonight's program. We would also like to thank and acknowledge the terrific JCRC Board of Directors and many past presidents for their service. Please rise so we can acknowledge your leadership. We would also like all past JCRC board members to please rise so we can acknowledge. Finally, we are grateful for the security team that has been built for today's gathering, including HICOM Security, SFPD, and the Palace Hotel's own security. Should any interruptions take place at any point tonight, we ask that you do not engage, but kindly allow them to step in. We are so glad that all of you are able to join us to celebrate JCRC. As the largest collective voice of Jews in the Bay Area, JCRC's work truly could not happen without the support of the community. Your engagement and commitment are deeply appreciated.
It's time to begin our three-part evening, which I like to refer to as the appetizer, dinner, and dessert. We will start with a presentation of bridging communities in our time of crisis. We have invited a selection of special guests, allies, and entertainers to demonstrate the breadth and depth of community solidarity. We hope it will fill your hearts with a sense of hope for the future. After these presentations, we will relocate to the Garden Court for dinner, and then return here for our concluding Celebrating Champions and 75 years of JCRC. We will then honor Ron and Barbara Kaufman, the Asian Pacific Islander Council of San Francisco, and Abigail Michelson Porth. To kick things off, please welcome Tara Moriarty, Director of Communications with the San Francisco Sheriff's Office. You may know her best from her 10-year stint as KTVU Channel 2 reporter and anchor, and naturally, she is an alumni of JCRC's 2019 Israel Seminar. Please welcome her on stage.
Good evening. I am honored to be here tonight as we commemorate the 75-year anniversary of the Jewish Community Relations Council. It is a pleasure for me to MC our opening session, Building Bridges in Our Time of Crisis. I was fortunate to be on a JCRC trip to Israel in 2019, where I met Abby Porth, one of tonight's honorees. About me, I spent part of my childhood growing up in New York at a public school where on Rosh Hashanah, half the students were absent. I remember that despite how Jewish my community was, I never learned about the Holocaust in any history book or heard my Jewish friends or their parents or even grandparents talk about it. Fast forward to the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, Yad Vashem. It was heavy, gut-wrenching. By the time I left, my face was stained in tears. I felt sick to my stomach, and in that moment, I understood why nobody talked about it when I was little, why it was not taught in any history book. Many Jewish people were too traumatized, too afraid, still. They wanted to forget. But when Holocaust survivors started to die off, people began to see that there is power in remembering. Lessons so that history doesn't repeat itself. There is also hope that everyone can live in a world free of hate, regardless of ethnicity or religion. As a former reporter for KTVU and current director of communications for the San Francisco Sheriff's Office, I see on a daily basis how critical public safety is to ensure that targeted communities feel safe and protected. So we find ourselves in a very difficult time for the Jewish community. Rising anti-Semitism at home, and a crisis in the Middle East. We're here tonight to bring diverse voices and performers together in a showing of solidarity with the Jewish community, and to circle back to our theme, Building Bridges. So here to discuss this challenging time and what solidarity means today, please welcome to the stage Ty Gregory, CEO of JCRC Bay Area. Welcome to the 75th annual Oscars, JCRC celebration.
You know, when I heard that there were going to be some counter-programming down in LA, I thought that they were copying us because, you know, it's an award ceremony planned mostly by Jews, given out mostly to Jews, and it's an hour too long. So, you know, they took everything from us, and, you know, I think we have the better program.
I think you're right. All right, Ty. I know that this is a challenging time for the Jewish community as we discuss anti-Semitism on the rise. I mean, we can hear some of the protesters across here in the Bay Area and across the country. So what does this moment feel like for the Jewish community?
Well, thank you for asking, and we're just so glad to have a full house tonight. Give yourselves a round of applause. 700 strong. We are so grateful to everybody. We've been framing this as a dual crisis. I remember after October 7th, the WhatsApp text messages started going to all my friends in Israel. And a few weeks later, most of the traffic started coming back. Because as our friends were grappling with the trauma of the worst attack against the Jewish people since the end of the Holocaust, so too has a wave of anti-Semitism come to our shores. And unfortunately, we all have a deep, deep responsibility in this Jewish community because the trends hit the Bay Area first, and then they spread to the rest of the country. So not only are we sticking up for a very vulnerable community right now, what we can stop here from spreading to other parts of the country, we should. And that is a deep, deep responsibility. The weight is on all of our shoulders, not just the staff and the professionals, to combat anti-Semitism, to call it out wherever it's happening. We have that responsibility, and we take it very seriously.
We know that there's a lot of pain and search for answers and resolutions on both sides of the war in Gaza. So how does JCRC navigate this complex and very difficult moment?
Well, when it comes to the war itself, we really believe 4 fundamental things are true in order to maintain Israeli security and Palestinian dignity. Without both of those things, there is no peace in this conflict. And to simplify the way that we're talking about it is we believe 4 core things. And I like to remember it as follows. Return, expel, maximize, minimize. Return the hostages now. Expel Hamas from power, whether diplomatically, militarily. Israel can never be expected to have a terrorist organization on its border. We went down. Scott Wiener's going to talk about our trip in a little bit. But no country should be expected to have a terrorist organization after a brutal slaughter on their border, a kilometer away. So the second thing we have to do is expel. Maximize. We have to maximize humanitarian aid. I think Biden did a good job at the State of the Union speaking to that. And minimize. We have to minimize civilian casualties in Gaza. And the important note there is Hamas are cowards. They hide under mosques. They hide under schools. They hide under densely populated neighborhoods. They are cowards, and they are driving up the death toll because the death toll is the only reason Hamas is surviving. But we have to be better than them. We have to take the high road, and we believe that by minimizing casualties and pushing for that from here, that we can do right because Palestinian dignity counts too.
So what has JCRC's role been in addressing these issues?
Well, not sleeping is the starting point. Look, we believe that this war cannot come home, and unfortunately it has. In fact, it's right across the street, right? And so we need to make sure that our neighbors and the broader community understand that anti-Semitism, like other forms of hate, is a mutating virus. But when you look at the ways in which the war is being weaponized against us, it's not so different than what our Asian Pacific Islander neighbors and Asian Jews have been dealing with for the past few years in light of COVID. A foreign event makes its way here, and a community gets scapegoated for it. We know how that feels, and now that's happening to us. And so we need to recognize that there are 2 layers to this conversation. A policy discussion, where you can have civil disagreement and respect one another. But then there's another layer here of hatred and dehumanization and delegitimization of the Jewish community here, and that's where we start to have problems, and that's where we need to get to the root of it. It's okay if you don't see eye to eye with the organization on certain policy priorities for the war. What it's not okay to do is the collective punishment of the Jewish people because of the foreign policy conflict. Not okay.
What do you want the broader Bay Area civic community to know about what it is like to be Jewish at this time?
Whew. Look, I think that we as a community, we're very small. We're like 2% of the country, maybe 3-4% of the Bay Area. And I think we often forget how small of a minority that we are. And you were talking about your own experiences with the Jewish community. Most people don't know a lot about us. And I think our greatest weakness is our greatest strength, which is we're complicated. You can't define Jewish identity in 144 characters in a tweet. And that's how it's been weaponized against us with these black and white, very simple messages. And we're really complicated as a people. And so all we're asking is for the space to listen and talk about what this moment is like for us. The first step is always listening, because we're a big believer in these one-on-one conversations, building relationships, which can lead to coalitions, which can lead to change. So we know that there are a lot of allies that don't know how to engage with this without feel like they're picking a side, because we know the Muslim community is hurting too. We're not asking people to pick a side. We're asking them to keep our community safe. And so we need to also give, as a community, our community needs to give space for allies like you and like the hundreds of allies in the room, the chance to make mistakes, the chance to ask questions and learn. We need to give them the same space in the same way that when we're on the other side of the table, we want that space to be able to learn, grow, and engage as well.
What about partnership?
So, we really think that a few things need to happen. Number one, education. Our education system is foundational for the next generation. We need to make sure that Jewish identity is taught in schools, that Holocaust education is mandated. You spoke to the lack of it growing up. We need to make sure that in ethnic studies, the Jewish American experience is represented. So join us in the fight for representation, just like we're fighting for representation of other communities of color in our school system. We also need to make sure that there's room at the table for JCRC to continue our social justice work. I know that in many arenas, many people have been hurt by some of the lack of support coming from different progressive places. This is a progressive community. We have been part of these fights for generations. As you'll see and during the rest of this program, we still have a lot of allies and a lot to be proud of. And so we want to be part of that fight because social justice is part of our values. We want to be there. We want to be supportive. And we think that we're going to be stronger together.
Well said. Now, I'll ask you what I always ask at the end of any interview when I was a reporter. I would say, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about?
Look, I think that for all the Jewish community members here, I know how challenging of a time this is, but there is a giant silver lining to what we're all experiencing, which is people are engaged and activated and doing the work in ways that I don't think we've seen for generations. And so, as you've seen from my incredible predecessors, we've been doing the work all along. So by putting the work in now, I understand that we're not winning every fight. But by putting in the work now, we're making sure that we're setting the table for the next generation's fight. JCRC is an organization that thinks in miles and not in centimeters. I didn't do that right. But we need to make sure that we have the vision to make sure that 10, 20, 75 years from now, that this continues to be the best place to be Jewish.
All right, well said. Thank you so much, Ty. Ty, ladies and gentlemen. Such a passionate speaker and such a great leader for the Jewish community here in the Bay Area. Right now, we want to welcome to the stage the Mates sisters. That's Rabbi Jackie Mates Muchin from Temple Sinai in Oakland and Mayor Julia Mates of Belmont.
Good evening and welcome as we commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Jewish Community Relations Council. It is an honor for the two of us to stand together today to appreciate and celebrate this organization as we both care deeply about its work and its role in our community. As the first Chinese American rabbi and the first Chinese American Jewish mayor, respectively, we are both grateful to be a part of the JCRC and the hard work they do for our diverse, unique Jewish community here in the Bay Area.
The past 6 months have been more difficult than any of us could have imagined. We were still reeling from the shock and horror of Hamas's attack on Israel when the anti-Semitic rhetoric and incidents began here. It's easy in these times to feel isolated, helpless, and afraid. Yet it is in this space that JCRC holds us, guides us, and strengthens us. In Oakland, JCRC helped organize our public school parents and orchestrated a press conference to oppose the terrible statements made and the one-sided teach-ins planned by the Oakland Teachers Union. JCRC supported me and my rabbinic colleagues in Oakland as we reached out to our city leadership, speaking against a resolution concerning the war in Israel and Gaza. And though the resolution was presented and passed, as you know, it was our effort behind the scenes that kept the most inflammatory terminology out of that document. And that work paved the way for less aggressive language in many of the cities that have followed. JCRC has been a lifeline, reaching a hand out to all of us in this unprecedented time. Thank you, JCRC, for your wisdom, your dedication, and your partnership today and every day. We are going to get through the difficult days ahead because we stand together, united as a community.
My initial firsthand experience with JCRC was several years ago as a parent. My daughter and other Jewish kids at her high school were getting verbally attacked and bullied for being Jewish, and anti-Jewish graffiti was found on campus. We contacted JCRC, who sent a representative to join in meetings with parents and administrators. With their support, we were able to convey the severity of the situation and convince the administration to take this issue seriously. After this personal experience, I had the opportunity to serve on the JCRC Council. It was during that time when I saw firsthand their big tent approach and how JCRC takes on policy issues and works as an ally with so many other faith and ethnic groups. Now, as mayor of Belmont, I truly appreciate the work JCRC has done in creating a group called BANJO, Bay Area Network of Jewish Officials, which connects Jewish elected officials at all different levels of Bay Area government. I currently serve as BANJO's Peninsula representative. When JCRC initially started BANJO a couple of years ago, it was to have a space to exchange ideas, strengthen relationships, and speak with a common voice on issues of mutual concern. There was no way we could have predicted how invaluable this network was going to be. Since October 7th, I have come to count on the support of JCRC and fellow BANJO members regularly as we navigate increased anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiment. Jewish elected representatives are being personally targeted, even as we work to serve the public. It is a difficult time, and I cannot express how important JCRC and BANJO are to Jewish electeds.
And so we pray, our God and God of all ages, we thank you for the blessings of health and safety that have enabled us to come together today. We are grateful for community, for the long-standing tradition of Jewish life in the San Francisco Bay Area, and for JCRC and their ongoing steadfast leadership.
May we find strength in each other's presence and in our shared commitment to repair the world. Indeed, we have much for which to be grateful, and yet still so much work to be done.
And so, our God and God of generations yet to come, we pray that you grant us continued courage, compassion, and ability to work together to build relationships across difference, to strengthen and hold each other, standing proudly with our Jewish community, that we may fulfill your vision of a world redeemed, peaceful, and whole. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength to God's people. May God bless all people with peace. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. We also want to take this opportunity briefly to wish Abby Michelson-Porth, our dear lifelong friend, Mazel Tov, on this well-deserved recognition. And to all the honorees, thank you for your many years of service to the Jewish community. And it is now our pleasure to introduce a friend and ally of JCRC and the Oakland Jewish community, the immediate past president of the Oakland Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Carl Chan.
Well, good evening. And I'm so excited today because we're here to celebrate, JCRC, for the success for the last 75 years. But most importantly, it's about the time, the day that they are trying to bring us together for unity. So let's give them a big hand for all this celebration. And when we're talking about hate, I think we all know that the Jewish community knows so much better than many people when we're talking about hate. And not that long ago, a few years ago, when we are facing the API hate, the JCRC and our brothers and sisters from the Jewish community, they're coming to support us. And during that time, knowing that they came to Chinatown, they're supporting us and making sure that we have this volunteer patrol. And we needed the cameras, and they donated the money. And they've been supporting us throughout the past few years. And it's important for us to come together and understanding how to support each other, and especially when communities are facing hate crime and hate issues. So with that, on behalf of the API community, we want to thank JCRC and all our brothers and sisters in the Jewish community. Thank you. And not too long ago, I got a call from Ty, but also from Jonathan, and he said that it's going to be long speeches, but there are also dinner to be served. But in order for you to have it, can you introduce a line dance? I said, of course I will. Now, for many of you, in order for you to have dinner, I saw the envelope inside. You got to do something about it. Either you write a check, or you will make sure that you pass it on to someone that can support the JCRC. Now, I'm here supposed to introducing the lion dance. So people know about lion dance that you have seen throughout the many years. I know that some of you have gone through the parade, Lunar Year Parade, not too long ago in San Francisco, right? And so basically, the lion dance will bring in good luck and good fortune. And why are we doing that? And I just want to give back a little history about lion dance. When China, used to be the farming country, and there are many, many villages. So by doing the lion dance, we do the drum and the gong, and making the loud noises, and making sure that we chase away all those evil spirits, and also bringing, good fortune. Now, remember, years ago, we did not have cell phone or computer. Unlike, like yesterday, I got a call from my brother, Dennis, who texted me 2 o'clock in the morning and reminding me that you got to be here today. So, in those days, in order to do that, they do lion dance. They're drumming up, using the gong and the drum, and to reminding everybody when they're far away, but again, they're not many buildings, so they can hear throughout the entire village. So people will come together in symbolizing we are unified together. And to bring good luck, in order to bring good luck, how should we do that? It's about unity. Just like what JCRC is doing today, bringing people together. When you're uniting people, that is good luck. When we're uniting people, we can do things together. When we're uniting people, we can make many, many good changes. So that's the reason why we have all these making loud noises. And in order to bring in also better luck, we're also carrying, the red envelope. So inside their money, and in case you don't have it, go ask my 2 brothers, Jeff Lee and Dennis Wu, and they'll give you the red envelope. If they don't give it to you, they will issue an IOU. So ladies and gentlemen, so the next performance coming is going to be the lion dance performed by Yao Gongmun in San Francisco, okay? I've seen their performance as a kid growing up, and they have fantastic, wonderful young people doing the lion dance. Remember, every gong, every drum, they're making the noise. That means come together. We are here to unify. We are here in unity, and we are going to make changes. We're going to make good changes, and we'll bring good luck to everyone. Thank you.
What? Hello? Okay, I'm on. What a great performance. They didn't have that at the Oscars, everybody. All right, coming up, we are going to hear from the amazing 2015 Poet Laureate of Oakland, Tova Ricardo. She is an award-winning writer and storyteller, elevating the intersections of being Black and Jewish. We will also hear from a man who has spent his entire life fighting for social and economic justice, becoming the first Latino and youngest person in a century to be elected to his office, Berkeley Mayor Jessie Arreguín. But first, let's welcome someone who has found purpose in building power for workers through unionizing, the Secretary-Treasurer of the San Francisco Building Trades Council, Rudy Gonzalez.
Thank you, Tara. Good evening, JCRC, community and allies. How are we doing? Hard to follow that act. First, congratulations on 75 years of advocacy and building a better community. Like Tara said, my name is Rudy Gonzalez, and I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the San Francisco Building and Construction Trades Council. I have the privilege to represent some of the hardest working blue-collar workers in some of the most dangerous and unforgiving jobs. Be it erecting a hospital or hotel, housing, or a high-tech lab, our skilled and trained craftsmen and women have built San Francisco for over 125 years. Now, as a labor leader, I'm part of a movement rooted in economic and social justice. And this movement has a strong history of standing with the Jewish community. It also has a history of electing some of our own from within the Jewish community. 115 years ago this year, those names were Pauline Newman and Clara Shavelson. They were in New York, leading what is now taught in history as the uprising of the 20,000, helping lady garment workers come together collectively to advocate for safety and respect in the factories and enter political life anew. Today, those names are Randy Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers, and Stuart, you can clap for Randy, absolutely. There are also names like Stuart Applebaum of the Retail and Domestic Workers Union, both two national leaders in their own right, leading the charges for strong public education and safe working conditions for essential workers. But they are also lifting the voices of Jewish workers in our movement, voices of workers who are facing new waves of fear and retaliation, voices of workers who need safety and support from us in these dark times. Because the truth is, some of those who were with us are now themselves repeating old tropes, fanning the flames of anti-Semitism, even buying in and promoting conspiracies that deny Jewish identity. We must be clear-eyed about otherwise healthy functions in a democracy, things like freedom of speech, things like protest. We have to guard so that those do not cross over into hate speech and outright violence. Now, I truly believe that some of these voices are speaking out because their pain is real, and their criticisms of far-right governments, either here at home or abroad, are in fact legitimate. But we've got to be careful. We know that pain will never be soothed by stirring sentiments of hate. We must stand together for what is right and for what is just, and denounce these acts whenever and wherever they occur. And we must also acknowledge our own pain and not let fear dictate our own response. Now, personally, my Catholic faith and upbringing call me to answer pain and anger with forgiveness and love, as hard as that may be. My own wife and children, congregants of Temple Sinai, remind me that each of us must model Tikkun Olam for each other and also for our neighbors. I want you to know unequivocally you have allies in organized labor. We understand the evolving and alarming trends of anti-Semitism. In fact, the very same structures that oppose our workers when they stand to organize are sowing seeds of division right now against immigrants and refugees, denying LGBTQ rights, spending big to deny healthcare freedom for women, and fanning flames of hate against Jews. These forces rely upon two key things to sustain their chaos and division. Those things are fear and they are white supremacy. We must act with urgency to strengthen our ties and renew our coalitions. In this effort, JCRC stands as a model for building bridges among our communities, and I want to especially thank Ty and his team for all they have done to unite us. Thank you, Ty. For our part, organized labor must unite workers along lines of class solidarity. Because all workers, whether they are members of the AFL-CIO in the United States, whether they are members of the Histadrut in Israel or the Palestinian Trade Federation, all of them and their loved ones long for the same prosperity, and they yearn for the same enduring peace. Organized labor can help. We can help unite workers so that both can be achieved and we can truly repair the world. May we seek justice together and for all. Thank you.
Please welcome Mayor Jessie Arreguín, City of Berkeley.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here with you to celebrate the 75th anniversary of JCRC and all that they do to bring our communities together, not just support our Jewish community, but to build community throughout our region. As the mayor of Berkeley, in a city with a large Jewish community, I have a very close tie to our Jewish community, not just here in the Bay Area, but abroad. And have stood very strongly against the rise of anti-Semitism and hate in the Bay Area in the United States. One of the first challenges I experienced when I came into office was the presence of neo-Nazis marching on the streets of Berkeley. And we stood with our faith leaders, with our Jewish leaders, with our African-American community to take a very strong and unequivocal stance against the presence of these violent hate groups in our city. And we worked to form a regional and statewide partnership called the Unite Against Hate campaign. And if you've been in Oakland or Berkeley or Alameda or Piedmont, you see signs in people's windows saying that those communities stand united against hate. And I'm proud that we've been able to take this campaign and make it a statewide campaign. I was proud to stand with our Jewish community after the horrific Tree of Life synagogue shooting, and now to stand with our Jewish community and our entire community after the horrific attack by Hamas on October 7th. And we are working to combat the rise of anti-Semitism in Berkeley. So when JCRC asked me to participate in the Israel study trip last year, I said yes. It also helped that I was nudged by my good friend Mosel Zabitsky, who joined us on the trip as well. And I felt it was important that as the mayor of Berkeley, a mayor in the Bay Area, a community with a large Jewish population, that I go and see firsthand what's happening in Israel, that I understand the history of Israel and of Jewish identity, understand some of the challenges, the security challenges that are happening in Israel, and the importance to have a free and safe and secure Israel. And I have to say that that experience opened my eyes and it changed my life. And not only did it form deep bonds with other elected officials and with JCRC, but really exposed to me how critical it is that we stand for a safe and secure Jewish state in Israel. And there were two experiences that I want to reflect upon. One was going to the Golan Heights and also the border at Lebanon and seeing how close these hostile countries are to Israel, and hearing stories of people who lived in Tel Aviv who had to literally hide because there were missile strikes in Tel Aviv. And sadly, we know that what's happened over the last several months, the attacks on October 7th and the subsequent violence and terrorism against Israel is an ongoing threat that Israel faces. And also visiting Yad Vashem and seeing the progression of state-sanctioned hate and violence and terrorism against Jewish people throughout the world. And I think one thing that I learned in that experience that I really reflect on now is that this didn't happen overnight. This was a steady progression of hate. And nobody stopped it. And that's why it's so critical that we call out anti-Semitism for what it is, that we take a very strong stand against anti-Semitism, that we stand for the safety of all people, and that we work to protect our Jewish community during this very critical time, because we've seen what's happened historically, and we must make sure that that never happens again. And just reflect on some of the challenges that we face at Berkeley City Hall, coming through the doors here and seeing the protesters. That's sadly an experience we deal with on a weekly basis at our city council meetings. It's unacceptable that people have a right to speak out, people have the right to express their opinions, people do not have a right to commit violence, people do not have the right to intimidate people, people do not have a right to say blatantly hateful things. And when people praise Hamas and spout conspiracy theories, it is really a dangerous thing, dangerous to our democracy and dangerous to the safety and security of everyone. And that's why I have said, and we will continue to maintain, that we will not pass any divisive resolution at the Berkeley City Council. So whether it's taking a strong stand against divisiveness and hate, whether it's making sure that we take a strong stand against hate crimes and protecting our Jewish residents, whether it's making sure that our students are safe in our schools, we will continue to take a strong stance. And I think it's critical that those of us that aren't Jewish express our solidarity with our Jewish community. Because I believe very strongly that an injury to one is an injury to all. So that's why I want to thank JCRC for all their work in helping bridge communities together, to bring allies, Jewish and non-Jewish allies together, to not only open our eyes, like I was able to fortunately experience, about what's happening in Israel and the importance of our Jewish identity and our Jewish community and a safe and free and secure Israel, but the importance that we all stand collectively against hate and for social justice and for the right of all people to exist safely and securely here in the Bay Area and throughout the world. So I want to thank JCRC for the work that they do, which is so critical now more than ever. And here's to 75 years and hopefully 75 more years to come. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Tova Ricardo, award-winning writer and Jewish community advocate.
I am the daughter of two ships, two diasporas familiar with being classified as subhuman and haunted by lost stories. I am merged bloodlines, fraught by a world unable to accept them. I am the daughter of the Middle Passage and Southern Strategy. I am the daughter of shtetl firebombings and hiding in bushes. I am the daughter of pogroms and segregation. I am the daughter of free people of color, Ashkenazi Jews, rural Louisiana, southern Russian towns. I am the daughter of great migrations to the West Coast, to the Southwest, for new lives. My Jewish pride is an ode to every ancestor who had to endure generations of anti-Semitism. My Black pride is an ode to every ancestor who did not let the chains of slavery or Jim Crow hold them down. I am the product of all of them. I was born to a place defined by its diversity, its Chinatown tea shops and Black-owned hair salons. Mosques and churches and synagogues and temples fill our streets with abundance of prayer and faith. I grew up reading poetry at the same West Oakland Park, where Kathleen Cleaver proclaimed the beauty of Black hair. Parade after parade of cultures that refuse to be subjugated, to be silenced or erased. I was born to a place that takes pride in the ability of its people to hold hands with a man of another color. What one might call solidarity or social justice is just our expression of seeing one another, of breathing into the world the voices that our ancestors gave us. My love for the Bay Area is deep and unwavering. There is nowhere else I'd rather call home. Every possibility is possible here, and at times, that is the very thing that scares me too. When emotions rise here, they can lead to progress or intense division. I am Black and Jewish. I want to feel safe where I call home. Lately, when I say I am Jewish, I am unsure if the person I am talking to prefers my people dead or alive. I am Black and unsure if I will be followed in the local store. I speak to each of my grandparents and see Jim Crow and anti-Semitism haunt them like a lingering ghost. When I say I am Black and Jewish, I do not want to be met with the rage of movements trying to destroy my peoples. For years, I have struggled with my relationship to the word solidarity and if it is ever really possible. I've seen people deny the humanity of another. I have seen grievance rattle communities into enemies. I've seen the same people who shouted Black Lives Matter ignore the killing of Black Israelis by Hamas. I have lost friends when I visited my homeland for the first time. I struggle to define what a perfect solidarity looks like. I try to avoid buzzwords that have now become hollow, but I have often said that you will not end racism by hating Jews, and you will not end anti-Semitism by hating Black folks. Extremism, misunderstanding of history, and grievance will not make people truly see one another. Transactional empathy and ego can never really bring people together in ways that free them. I am Black and Jewish, and have seen how both of my communities fight one another, speak down to each other, ignore the other's pain. No one knows Black and Jewish people better than Black Jews do. We are the bridge. We see the hurt, we hear the grievances, we know the history, where the fissures were created, and how they can be repaired. I don't expect every person at the intersection of multiple identities to fix the damaged relations of their people. I do know that solidarity can only be achieved when people stop trying to take someone else's humanity away from them, when history and common sense are remembered and restored, when extremism and radicalism are not accepted as normal. I come from a place where every possibility is possible, and that scares me sometimes. It scares me because of how hot the emotions rise and how they can lead to progress or regression. It scares me because I shouldn't have to think twice about going to synagogue out of fear of violence. It scares me because I want to feel at home, where I can be myself and determine the outcome of my own life. I come from the Bay Area, and to love the Bay Area has meant staying in a place that I can't let tear itself apart by anger or division or hatred. So today, I challenge you all to imagine how you can foster environments and dialogue that center listening over explosive yelling, understanding over ego, facts over all else. How can Black and Jewish communities and people be better aligned in their commonalities rather than their differences? How can Black Jewish people be at the forefront of relationship building? How can we rewrite how we've been told to see one another? What can you do today, tomorrow, this month, to unlearn what no longer serves us? Thank you.
Tova, everyone. Thank you, Tova. From poetry and song to policymakers and political shakers, to all who stand in unity against the tyrannies of the world to build a better one, we are here tonight and we are building bridges together. Shortly, we will hear a performance from an alumna of the esteemed Rimon Music School in Israel, the multi-talented musician, singer, and composer, Sigal Vardi. But first, representing Senate District 11 in San Francisco, please welcome to the stage Senator Scott Wiener.
Good evening, everyone. Adjust the mic for the tall guy. So I am so deeply grateful for JCRC's work over the last 75 years to support Jews, to fight anti-Semitism here and abroad, and to work in coalition with other communities. And I want to thank the API Council for being here tonight. They'll be receiving an award, and thank you for all of the amazing work that you do in coalition. So JCRC has its roots in the 1930s, raising awareness about rising anti-Semitism in Europe that ultimately led to the Holocaust. For so many years, JCRC has stood strong as Jews were oppressed and attacked, whether in Russia, whether in Ethiopia, or in the face of calls that have been happening for so long and are repeated today to eliminate the homelands of 7 million Jews, half of the Jews on the planet. JCRC has stood strong as anti-Semitism has reared its ugly head in the United States, whether casting light on the rise of neo-Nazism and white supremacy, or the abuse of Jewish students on college campuses, or the teaching of anti-Jewish hatred in our schools, or the newest form of anti-Semitism, simply replacing the word Jew with quote-unquote Zionist. And then demanding that quote-unquote Zionists not be allowed to donate or serve on the boards of nonprofits. That's happening right now, right down the street at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. Or demanding that quote-unquote Zionists, artists, not be allowed to perform. Or that quote-unquote Zionists not be allowed to teach on college campuses. And if you think about that, that's happening today in this country in 2024. That's what they are calling for. JCRC has been on the ground, on the front lines for so many years, fighting for Jews and against anti-Semitism in city council chambers, at boards of education, across the Bay Area. And they're doing it with incredible strength and passion, and I am so grateful to JCRC for being on the front lines and being subjected to incredible hate. What we saw out there today is just a tip of the iceberg of what JCRC deals with every single day. And JCRC is doing this work so that we all, as Jews, can live our lives safe in our community. And because of JCRC's work, it does get targeted. And when we look at what happened today, imagine this. We're in the year 2024 in the Bay Area, and there are people protesting and targeting a major Jewish community event here in San Francisco. Let me say that again. In the year 2024, protesters are targeting a major Jewish community event for a major Jewish community organization here in San Francisco. I have no problem, and I think that's true for most of us, with anyone protesting this war or the government of Israel or the government of the United States. I've been very clear about my own views about the war and the humanitarian disaster in Gaza. People have every right to protest. But when that protest tips into targeting Jews, when that protest tips into celebrating the massacre and mass rape and kidnapping of Jews, when that protest tips into targeting Jewish community organizations, and when that protest tips into effectively advocating for the expulsion of 7 million Jews from their homeland, that crosses a bright red line. I have the honor of serving as co-chair of our legislative Jewish caucus. We now have 13 Jewish members of the legislature and 6 Jewish adjacent members of the legislature. Our caucus works hand in glove with JCRC to fight anti-Jewish hatred here in California. And I want to acknowledge a few of my colleagues are here today, and it's always risky to do this because I may not have seen someone and then I will get in trouble. But I just want to acknowledge the vice chair of our caucus, Senator Josh Becker. And then we have Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan. Assemblymember Mark Berman. And Assemblymember Damon Connolly. Our Jewish caucus last month, did I miss anyone? Okay, good. Our Jewish caucus last month had the honor to co-lead a delegation of legislators and community leaders, both Jewish and non-Jewish legislators, to Israel. We met with Israeli Jews, with Israeli Arabs, including with Israeli Arabs who have family members in Gaza, with government officials, community leaders, survivors of the October 7th massacre and mass rape, and families of hostages. The trip was intense, and I'll be honest, as someone who cares deeply about Israel, at times it was depressing. Frankly, everyone is losing this war, both Israelis and Palestinians. But it was also incredibly powerful to be in Israel, to hear diverse perspectives on the conflict, and to come away energized about what needs to happen: an end to the war, a sustainable peace, and 2 states living side by side, and every single hostage coming home. So thank you, JCRC, for all you have done for the past 3/4 of a century and for all you continue to do for our community. I am so deeply grateful. And with that, I have a resolution signed by a large number of legislators congratulating JCRC. So Ty, if you're here, you want to come up and I will present it to you.
Please welcome Sigal Vardi, singer and songwriter.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. שמעתי שדוד הנעים אקורד פלאים לאלוהים, ושאתה שונא תווים ידוע. אקורד עגום ומסתורי, מינור נופל, מז'ור ממריא, ומלך מבולבל שר הללויה. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Thank you. כל מה שהיה פה ישתנה ממחר. הזמן עוד יתקן את כל מה שכבר נשבר ונשאר. יש מי ששומר את הטוב לידינו, הוא תמיד מחכה. כל מה שהיה פה ישתנה ממחר אם ננסה רק להאמין בלי לדעת, להרגיש בלי לגעת, לדבר עם העיניים גם כשאין לי יותר מה לומר, לשחרר את הרגע, זה טבעי לפחד מהטבע, לחבק חזק בידיים כל רגע לפני שנגמר. כל מה שהיה פה ישתנה ממחר. הזמן עוד יתקן את כל מה שכבר נשבר ונגמר. כל התפילות הניסים בחיינו מתחברים לרגע הזה. כל מה שהיה פה ישתנה ממחר אם ננסה רק להאמין בלי לדעת, להרגיש בלי לגעת, לדבר עם העיניים גם כשאין לי יותר מה לומר, לשחרר את הרגע, זה טבעי לפחד מהטבע, לחבק חזק בידיים כל רגע לפני שנגמר. רק להאמין בלי לדעת, להרגיש בלי לגעת, לדבר עם העיניים גם כשאין יותר מה לומר, לשחרר את הרגע, זה טבעי לפחד מהטבע, לחבק חזק בידיים, כל רגע לפני שנגמר, כל מה שהיה פה ישתנה ממחר. Thank you.
I can tell Scott Wiener was here. What an incredible voice. Thank you so much, Sigal. Liberal, feminist, supporter of Black lives, proud Israeli, our next guest speaker is all of these things and more. She is an activist who opened up B'tei, a first-of-its-kind Ethiopian Israeli heritage center in Israel. Many of us know her on Instagram as Black Jewish Magic, bringing her passionate calls to action to her nearly 70,000 followers. Please welcome Ashager Araro.
Thank you all. I'm very excited to be here. Actually, coming here while my country is at war, it's a big decision that I didn't take lightly. Leaving my family while rockets are shooting at our country, while two of my brothers are serving in Gaza, was something that wasn't easy for me to do. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm here because I believe in the power of telling stories. And I'm here to tell the story of the people of Israel. I want to start with the story of Naama Levi, this beautiful young woman. The world was introduced to Naama in a horrifying video where she was dragged from the back of a truck in Gaza. She was wounded, bleeding, handcuffed, terrified, and vulnerable. But as Naama's mother, Ayelet, will tell you, this is not the video that represents Naama. In every other video of Naama before October 7, Naama was dancing with her friends and laughing with her brothers and sisters. She discussed peace as part of the Hands for Peace delegation, which include Palestinians and Israelis. She loved to play with children in a kindergarten where she volunteered. Naama is a 19-year-old woman. She is quiet, determined, athletic girl, full of life, full of compassion and emotion. Naama is an optimist who dreams of making the world a better place, who believes in the goodness of people. Naama has been in Hamas captivity for the last 156 days, and she needs to come home. Every day, during my reserve service in this war, the hostages were on my mind. Their faces were up on every screen. We continue hearing their stories from their loved one, asking them to return home. Being in the war room in the first 2 months after October 7 mean being exposed to information and images you don't want to be exposed to. We have seen the brutality and inhumanity and what happened that day. Every hour, like a clockwork, someone will get out of the war room and they will say, "This is unbearable. This is unbearable." And then they will take a big breath and get back in. Because we all had one mission at that time: to restore the sense of safety and security to the Jewish state, which experienced the largest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust in a single day. At that time, after October 7, I was lost. My faith was broken, and I was truly afraid for our future. But every time I get overwhelmed with negative feelings, I go back to my family's story. You see, I'm lucky enough to be a part of the best Jewish community in Okay, I'm part of the Ethiopian Jewish community, which are the best in the Jewish community tribe. Now, don't worry, I'm not biased in any shape or form. No, legit, I had the research done. I was the only focus group, but beside that, we're like 100%, like we are the best, just, you know. And also my community is it's very special, because it's a community that for centuries have believed that they are the only Jewish community in the world. And because of that, everything about who they were, everything about what was done is about protecting and preserving the Jewish religion. And unfortunately, in Ethiopia, like many other countries around the world, being Jewish wasn't simple. They had to face with anti-Semitism, persecution, and violence. But no matter what they have done to them, no matter how much they tried to break the Jewish spirit, we continue and fought to who we are and what we are. And every step of the way. And throughout years, it became harder and harder to remain Jew in Ethiopia. And then there start rumors about the fact that might not be alone. They might have more Jewish communities out there. I know it's crazy. I know. And a couple of years go by again, and there is a new rumor that says not only there is more Jewish communities out there, now they're telling us there is this Jewish state. And this Jewish state, where it is? In Jerusalem. Yerushalayim. Jerusalem, the way we say it. And for us, it's the most important thing. Because every day, 3 times a day, we will pray for next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. And then they told us that if we walk from Ethiopia to a neighbor country, Sudan, a walk that will take you over a month and a half by foot, this imaginary country that people keep talking about is going to come and take you to Jerusalem. Now let me ask you, and be honest. I can spot a liar, just saying. How many of you here will leave everything you know behind. Put yourself and your family at risk. Walk for over a month in the desert, solely based on a rumor. From your faces, I understand the answer is hell no. The number for my community is over 10,000 people. Over 10,000 people have crossed the desert of Sudan solely based on a rumor. And the journey was brutal. Over 4,000 people have lost their life in that journey. The statistics say that every family that started this journey has a casualty. Every single family that started this journey have a loved one they were forced to bury in the desert. Now, my family is very lucky. We came in a different operation. The operation I just talked to you about was Operation Moses. It happened in 1984 to 1985. My family came in Operation Solomon in 1991. It was a relatively easier operation. They had to go from Gondar in Ethiopia, the area where majority of Jews will live in, to Addis Ababa, which is the capital city of Ethiopia. A couple of days of walking in the desert. You'll come for this one, no? Yeah? Chilling with me in the desert? No? Just, you know, if my mom ever hears the fact that I describe her journey to Israel as chilling, I will be a dead woman. There's no question about it. But it was easier. For my family, it was my mom, my dad, and my big brother. They walked the first night, and everything was okay. They walked the second night, and something went terribly wrong. What I didn't tell you is that my mom was 9 months pregnant during this journey. Think about it for a second. Be 9 months pregnant walking in the desert. And the second night of our journey, her water broke. And there, in the middle of the desert, no medical assistance, not drugs, she had to deliver a baby girl to the world. Gorgeous, beautiful baby girl to the world. And again, guys, I'm not biased, okay? The way my dad, he doesn't love to talk about it a lot, but when he chooses to talk about that story, he always says, at that night, I was sure I'm going to lose one of you. I was sure that by the end of the night, either your mom or yourself are not going to be alive. And by the grace of God, and I truly, like you cannot see my heart, but in my heart, I truly believe there is no reason for me to be here today, to do what I do if God wasn't watching over my family at that time. I was okay, and my mom was okay. And when my dad looked at me the first time, taking my first breath, he decided to call me Ashager. Ashager in Amharic means going forward, from something bad to happen to you to something good. To this day, if you talk to my dad, he will tell you, like, she's my lucky star. She's my good fortune. Once I saw her, I knew that God was protecting us. The first moment that my grandma came to Israel, when she walked down the airplane, she bent her knees and kissed the ground. And it's important to understand why. This story is not a story of one woman or one family. This is the story of a community that for hundreds of years, had dreamed at that moment, being able to come back to Jerusalem. And my grandma was the first woman in our family to be able to achieve that. Now, this is the story I grew up on. Its values, loving your country, appreciate what you have, being a proud Zionist, was instilled with me in such an early age. But coming to Israel, surprisingly, wasn't simple. They didn't know anything before they came. They didn't know the language, the land, nothing. So I once asked my grandma, what is the most surprising thing about Israel? Like, what is the most mind-blowing thing you saw the first time you came to Israel? And my grandma looked at me and she says, white Jews. Because if you think about it, until that point of her life, all Jews that she met were black. But my grandma, she's very liberal. She said it wasn't a problem for me. She said, at that moment, I decide I'm going to help them out. I'm going to help them integrate to our community. I'm going to make them feel welcome and belong. Because you understand the way we were raised? I am what Jewish look like. My history is Jewish history. My heritage is Jewish heritage. There's no question about it. And then when you grow up with that sense of respect to your people, to legacy, and then you go outside to the world, and there's like a question mark to a lot of people that I meet who ask me to choose, what are you? Black or Jewish? Black or Jewish? Like one comes on the expense of another. And I always say, I refuse to choose because I have a clear understanding of the history of my people. You see, my parents live in a majority black country. They look like any other black person, but they still look that their black skin did not protect them from anti-Semitism. I live in a majority Jewish country. My Jewish identity doesn't protect me from racism. So I don't have the privilege to choose. I will fight both anti-Semitism and racism at the same force. I am 100% proud Jew, and I'm 100% black woman. That's it. And in order to cultivate more story to be heard of different minorities in Israel, I decided to open an Ethiopian Israeli Heritage Center named Bete. I'm going to tell one last story, and you will be mad about the fact that I'm not on time, but we're good. Yeah, we're good. Yes, thank you. The center is made by Ethiopian artists. Everything is made by Ethiopian artists. And we have groups from all across the world coming. And we had a group of 6 years old, like first graders coming in. And they're coming, and they're super excited. And then I see this young Ethiopian boy holding the hand of his Ashkenazi friend, getting into space, looks around, and he said, this I have in my house, this my grandma know to do, this my mama know to do. And he was so proud. He was so proud finally seeing his culture being presented in such a high regard. But more than that, I think he was proud to share it with his friend. Because telling each other stories is us telling each other that we see you. And our job and our work, it's our responsibility to make as many people in our community feel seen. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
Ashager, Araro.
Thank you.
What an incredible story. From the moment she was born and up till now, coming all the way from Israel. Thank you so much, Ashager, for sharing your story and your passion and your strength with us tonight. Friends, I hope that our program filled you with hope. I know it's been a tough past couple of months, but we are truly stronger when we choose to lift up and celebrate one another. I hope you will take to heart that the Jewish community has countless allies across the Bay Area, including myself, in large part due to JCRC's work and the relationship-building work of many of you in this room. It's been an honor to be your MC, and right now I am going to turn it over to JCRC CEO, Ty Gregory.
I hope you all saw what JCRC and our values and our work represents in the world. Where's my colleague Jonathan Mincer? Is he in the room? Where is he? Okay, he's schmoozing. So I'm going to do roll call now, and if there's a mistake, find him and yell at him, and we'll add it into the next segment to make sure that that everyone gets a shout out. Please hold your applause to the end. We have a very nice list to read of all the guests here. From the State of Israel, from the San Francisco Consulate to the Pacific Northwest, Ambassador Marco Sermonetta and Deputy Consul General Matan Zamir. From the California State Legislature, Senator Josh Becker, Senator Scott Wiener, Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, Assemblymember Mark Berman, Assemblymember Damon Connolly, and Assemblymember Diane Pappin. From the City and County of San Francisco, Mayor London Breed, who will speak after dinner, City Attorney David Chu, Treasurer Jose Cisneros, Sheriff Paul Miyamoto, Assessor Recorder Joaquin Torres, Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin, who gave us this lovely certificate of honor. Thank you, sir. Supervisor Matt Dorsey, Supervisor Joel Engardio, Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, who also gave us one of these lovely commendations. Love you, Rafi. Supervisor Myrna Melgar, Community College President Chanel Williams, Port Commissioner Gail Gilman, former Mayor Mark Farrell, and candidate for Mayor Daniel Lurie. From the County of Santa Clara, District Attorney Jeff Rosen. From the County of Marin, District Attorney Lori Fragoli. From the City of Fremont, Teresa Cox. From the City of Oakland, Council Member Dan Kolb. From the City of Hayward, Council Members Ray Bonilla and Julie Roche. From the City of Berkeley, Mayor Jessie Arreguín, Council Member Sophie Hahn, and Council Member Terry Taplin. From Richmond, Cesar Zepeda. From San Mateo, Council Member Amarance Lee. Hi, Amo. From Napa, Councilmember Mary Loros. From Alameda, Councilmember Trish Herrera Spencer. From San Rafael, City Attorney Rob Epstein. From the City of Petaluma, Councilmember Janice Cater Thompson. From Novato, Mayor Mark Milberg. From the City of Menlo Park, Councilmember Jen Wallison. From the City of Millbrae, Councilmember Gina Pappin. From the City of Belmont, Mayor Julia Mates and Councilmember Davina Hurt. From the Town of Moraga, Councilmember Carrie Hillis. From the Town of Tiburon, Vice Mayor Holly Thier. From City of Sausalito, Councilmember Melissa Blaustein and Councilmember Janelle Kalman. And from the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, Trustee Laura Bratt. From the Portola Valley School District, Trustee Bob Bauer. From the Peralta Community College District, Trustee Diana Delphin-Polk. Let's give them all a round of applause. You know when you're at the end of a Seder and you do that thing, Had God Yah, and you hold your breath? That's a good thing that I had to do that. There's an incredible array of allies that are here with us. Let's give them a round of applause. And to close us out before dinner, I'd like to welcome my predecessor, Rabbi Doug Kahn, and his lovely wife, Ellen Kahn, our co-chairs for this evening.
Good evening. Ty, do you remember when you were thinking about applying and I said, I promise you, you'll never have a dull day? What an amazing program, what an amazing turnout. Tara, thank you for leading us through such an inspiring and uplifting program. All the incredible performers and speakers. It simply exemplifies JCRC's values and commitments. And I think it puts the exclamation point on the question why JCRC's role is more important than ever in our community. Ellen and I are honored to serve as co-chairs with Jan and Alain, along with Honorary Chair Sissy Swig, and I'll add, I'm thrilled not to have any staff responsibility. What an amazing staff and event team has put this together. Marking JCRC's 75th anniversary at tonight's gala is deeply personal and nostalgic for me. I started working at JCRC 42 years ago, but it's deeply personal for all of us gathered here. From its beginnings, JCRC, passionate about the idea that the Jewish community's security is tied to the health of our society, has focused on building enduring relationships within and beyond the Jewish community to advance our shared values and to be prepared for the most challenging of times, like this very moment in our history. Hopefully you agree the opening program you've just witnessed underscores the depth of relationships JCRC has built over many years and the importance of being in relationship with civic, elected, faith, and communal leadership. A key part of being in relationship is taking time to recognize people whose exemplary leadership has helped JCRC advance its work in specific ways, including tonight's truly deserving honorees, Ron and Barbara Kaufman, the API Council, and Abby Porth. And that's why I urge everyone here, I know you will, to stay for dinner and what will be a moving and carefully timed awards ceremony and tribute to JCRC's 75th anniversary. We focus a lot on our communal source, as we must. How important it is, then, to lift up moments of true inspiration as represented by tonight's honorees. JCRC, through its work, is uniquely positioned to represent the needs of the Jewish community and the broader community. Through decades of convening Jewish and civic communities, educating leaders and bringing them to Israel, and advocating together for a secure and just future for Jews and our neighbors, JCRC has grown over the years into an indispensable cornerstone of our community. From Eugene Block to Earl Rabb, to Rita Semmel, to me, to Abby Porth, to Ty Gregory, only 6 executives in 75 years working with incredible staff and lay leaders, I can emphatically say that we all felt both the weight and privilege of this role. And Ty, you and your team are knocking it out of the park every single day. And all this is just one of the many reasons that JCRC remains and will always remain my favorite organization. Thank you.
I'm Ellen Kahn, and I'm honored to be standing here tonight with my husband, Doug, and with Jan and Alain as co-chairs for this truly historic event. Thank you all for being here tonight and for supporting the critical work of JCRC. If ever there was a time for the work of this organization, it is now. JCRC needs our continued support. I'm excited to share that through sponsorships, ticket sales, and contributions, we raised $1,060,000 before we walked in the door tonight. This is an unprecedented fundraising event for JCRC, and we could not have passed the $1 million threshold without your generosity and ongoing commitment to JCRC's work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. But we are not done. Tonight, in this room, our goal is to raise an additional $150,000. So between now and the end of our program, we hope you will give and give generously to ensure JCRC can meet the enormous challenges facing our community today, hiring more community relations professionals, bringing more leaders to Israel, building more relationships. Behind us on screen is a QR code you can use to donate, or if you prefer, on your seats you will find donation cards that can be returned to any staff person or mailed to JCRC. And don't worry, we plan to ask you again. And now it's time for us to relocate to the garden court for dinner. Please make your way through the doors to your right and enjoy. And we will see you again in this room at 6:45 sharp. Thank you.